Hello, you guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, okay, let's stop being a goofball. But today, I want to do a little story time talking about the time I bought a car with a bad engine. Now, honestly, I would never think this would happen to me, but of course, it'll be my freaking luck. But when I get into the whole story and go from there, it's just kind of crazy. But it's like God really looked out for me. So let's get to it, shall we? So I live in Pennsylvania. It was this dealership in Quakertown, PA called Advantage Auto Sales. I looked at this car I wanted. It was a 2013 Kia Optima. That's how you say it. It was an EX. It was white. If I find the pictures, I will insert it here. So it was a really nice car. Like, get me wrong, it was really nice. So I set up an appointment to test drive it, and when I went to the dealership, I was happy to see it first of all because it was still there. So when I went to the dealership, I was like, I want to test drive this Kia right here because that was pretty much the only car I was eyeing. And now I want to say this real quick. If you're going to a dealership, make sure there's more than one car that you actually like, and you want to test drive, because don't go in there for one thing only. Like one car that you want to look at. Make sure you have like a bunch of cars lined up that you want to look at. Like your first option, your second option, your third option. Which cars you like the most. Make sure you have enough. So what ended up happening was I test drove it, you know, everything was fine. I test drove it for about 20 minutes. I think it was like around 20 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely 20 minutes. Car drove fine. The car drove excellent. I really loved it. So I'm like, okay, I want this one. So I'm gonna put the down payment for it and then go from there. So I put the down payment down and, signed all that damn paperwork, and I took my picture, and then I was on my merry way. Or so I thought. So what ended up happening was I left the dealership, you know, was driving down a little road. It was like a little highway road, but not really a road. It was like a highway. It was like 3-lane highway, if that makes sense. So I was at the light. I had just got to the light, and then I kid you not, I saw the check engine light flashing. Bitch, I was so fucking mad because I was like, ain't no damn way. Ain't no damn way this damn check engine light is flashing right now. The car still drove fine, mind you. So I'm like, okay. In my head, I knew that wasn't a good thing because I'm like, I always read if you see a check engine light that's flashing, that means you're about to have a big ass problem. So I was like, okay, let me pull over in the parking lot and see what the fuck is wrong. I pull over, I turn the car off, and then I turn it back on. Because, maybe I'm thinking I'm hallucinating or seeing some random shit. Because I really didn't want to believe it. And then guess what? It was still flashing. Still flashing. So I called the dealership and I'm like, yeah, so I just left there. This car is like, the check engine light is flashing. They tell me to bring it in. So I go ahead and bring it in. And, well, I didn't bring it in yet. I left the parking lot where I pulled in at. I was going to head back to the dealership. I get to the light. Tell me why when the light turned green, I go to press the gas to go. The car don't want to go nowhere. Kid y'all not, man. The car did not want to go above 20. The car did not want to go above 20. And I was so mad. Because let me tell y'all, I was ready to cry. Because I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm driving with my hazards on at this point. Because it was like still a good minute. Like it was a good 15 minutes to get to the dealership from where I was at that moment. And I'm like, oh fuck, can I make it back without breaking down on the side of the road? Like, oh my god. and the car is literally making this noise like not it was like it was knocking. Like I have the video of it when I got to the dealership, and if I find that video, I will insert it here. But I kid you not, it was doing that the entire time. The engine was knocking loud as fuck. You could hear that shit on the outside. I was kid you not. So I'm driving, and I'm doing like 15 miles per hour at this point because the car don't want to go above 20. And I would kid you not, I caught every freaking light that there was to get back to the dealership. I caught every light. And I was pissed because I'm like, I didn't want to stop the car because every time I stopped the car and the light turned green and I gotta go, the car didn't want to go anywhere. It barely wanted to take off for that matter. So I was scared of getting stuck in the middle of the damn road. You feel me? So I finally get to the dealership. And what happened was I pulled in and then I turned the car off. Well, I'll say, they look at it. They try to tell me it's the timing belt. Now, I know good and well it's not the timing belt. Because a family member in my family, wait, a person in my family member, their engine went on their car, a different brand and model too. I remember it was the same symptoms as theirs, as was happening to me. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, it's not the timing belt. It's the engine. It's definitely the engine. They're trying to tell me it's the timing belt. Needless to say, blah. So I'm like, okay, so what now? So, they're trying to like, so you want to get into something else? Like another car in the lot? And now, mind you, I didn't like none of the other cars in the lot but the Kia. And I was not going for any other car but the Kia. So I was like, no. They tried. And I'm like, fuck it. I'll test drive the SUVs or whatever and see what happens. Now, I test drove an SUV. It was a Ford Escape. It was a 2012, I think it was, or 11. It had a sunroof and leather seats and shit. Still didn't like it though. So what ended up happening was I test drove it. As soon as I turned out the parking lot to leave the dealership during the test drive, I felt a thing of water. Now I felt when I say felt water, I felt water from the sunroof, like it was leaking. And it was not raining that day. It was very sunny. Now that was a turn off because I'm like, why is there water like coming out of the sunroof? It shouldn't be, right? I don't know much about cars, but I'm like, it should not be. But anyways, I'm like, hold up. So I'm like, I just turned that shit back around. I'm like, no, I don't want it. Now, I forgot to say this. I forgot to say this. The person that took me to the dealership had left at this point because I told them to leave because I knew I was getting the Kia. So I didn't need a ride back. So I thought. So I'm like, you could go ahead home. That person got home already. And I lived an hour away. So that person already done took me and they done went home. They lived an hour away as well. They done took me. So I was stranded. And I could have took other cars, but I didn't want to settle. I didn't want to settle for nothing I didn't like. So I was like, somebody better do something around here. Or what? And y'all, I know the refund part. Getting there. We're gonna get there. So what ended up happening was went back inside the dealership, and so I'm like, okay, so how am I getting home? Because I live like an hour away. Because I'm like, I don't like none of these cars y'all got. This Kia is obviously fucking broke or whatever. So what? So I'm like, okay. So they're still trying to get me into something else at the dealership. Still not going for it. I don't want to look at nothing else. That's why I tell you guys, if you're going to a dealership, make sure you have other cars lined up just in case one has issues, you know what I mean? So, needless to say, I did not get that Kia. And once I told them I didn't want nothing else on that lot, they finally, was like, alright. So, what happened was, they was like, they'll take it to the shop. They'll take the Kia to the shop, and see what's wrong with it. Even though I knew it was the fucking engine, but they kept saying timing belt, whatever. But that wouldn't be till the next day. So I'm like, how am I getting home right now? Anyway, like, come on now, how am I getting home? What ended up happening was they paid for my Uber to get home, rightfully as they fucking should. Even though, because I'm like, it's your cars and y'all, if you're selling a car, you should make sure it's in good condition before you sell it. Seriously. And the Uber was like around 60-ish, in the 60-ish dollars range. So they had to pay a good penny to get me back home. And I'll teach you a fucking lesson. But anyways, I get home, I'm over that day. Now mind you, I missed a day of work. I missed money that day. Because I was literally going to go to work as soon as I got the car. But no, I had to call off because I ain't had no car. No. And I'm like, that was a bitch. I lost money and no car. Ain't that some shit? Anyways, the next day, I'm at work. They call me. They say, we got bad news. Your car needs a new motor. And I'm like, a what? It needs a motor, right? Like I tried to tell y'all, I needed a motor. I knew it. But anyway, they was like, all right, so we cannot fix that. And I'm like, okay then, so where's my refund? And they're still trying to get me to get something else from there, like another car. They were trying their hardest. I guess in the customer, I don't know. I don't know, honestly, shit. I'm like, they tried to get me to get something else, and I was not cut for it. They were literally asking me what car did I want. Like, they would have got it or whatever. Like, they was asking, like, I don't know how they would have got the car I wanted, but they were asking me what type of car I wanted. I actually did have Toyotas or like Hondas. Of course, they didn't. They didn't specialize in those because they were like a high risk. I don't know what they mean by that, but whatever. So I'm like, no, I'll just take the refund and go elsewhere. So they gave me my refund, thankfully. Well, actually, not thankfully. They would have had to give it to me anyway. Because I was ready. I'm like, y'all don't give me that refund, I'm going to short sue your ass. I'm going to get a lawyer. And you're going to be up Shit's Creek. But anyway. Yeah. So, fast forward. As soon as my refund hit in my bank account the next day, I kid y'all not, they called me and they were like, hey, so we got good news. We're willing to put in a used, well, I'm lying. They didn't say a new or used motor. They only said they were willing to put in another engine. Now, me personally, I feel like if, I don't know how to say. Me personally, if you're putting in another part like an engine or a transmission, if you're replacing one of those things, I feel like either everything else will go or whatever. But still, I was not trying to go for it. So I didn't want it at that point because I'm like, I felt like they were just gonna patch it. Like, I felt like they were just gonna patch it up until a certain mileage, and then the engine will go again. And I was not trying to have that happen. So I'm like, no, I'm good. No, I don't want it. So got them out the way. And then I ended up going to another dealership to buy another car. So that's all I need. But that's for another story time. That's for another video. I love my car. My new car currently. I have a Nissan Altima. I love it. Still have her. But yeah, I'll make another video on that. But yeah, that pretty much just sums up what I wanted to talk about today. So sorry if this video is long. But if you stay to the end of this video, I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you very much. I'm very goofy. I appreciate y'all very much if you stay to the end of this video. I hope you may like it. I hope you may subscribe maybe. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to force you though. This is how I act normally. Anyway. So, yeah. So that sums up the story time on how I bought up bought a used car with a bad engine. But anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, or night, or morning, whenever you watch this. All right, tuning out. Good night, peoples. Bye.